I'll go ahead and call the commission meeting to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll go ahead and open up the 2024 budget public hearing. If anybody has anything they'd like to talk about on the budget. Does anybody have anything? Okay. Then there was one thing that I had missed on the budget, which actually brings it down. There was a double on the pool salaries. They went in twice. And I didn't catch that before Sarah printed. So it actually brought, oh no, she did get the right one. Never mind. So it's down to 69.99 estimated mills. Okay. Do I have a motion to close the?
You got draft budget down here, you gonna talk more about it down there, or is this the only time we're gonna talk about it?
This is for any in the public that wants to speak on it, but we can talk more or we can do it up here, whichever.
It doesn't matter, just, whatever you wanna do, so. We can do it down here, that'll be fine.
Do I have a motion to close the public budget hearing?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Properly moved and seconded to close the public budget hearing at 6:38. Moved by Dave, seconded by Jason. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. I'm going to add one thing onto the agenda under E. We have under new business, one local permit for a raffle for Shining Lights. And everybody should have the.
Is that in our packet?
It wasn't.
Oh.
I'll pass it around.
It's just a raffle?
She just dropped it off.
Oh, okay.
They had asked when they wanted to start a raffle soon, and they asked when do they need to have it in, and I said in the next 5 minutes, so
Oh,
they hurried up.
quickly.
All right, everybody should have the minutes from the last 2 meetings.
Where she writes fast.
Do I have a motion to approve, or if there's any changes?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Dave. Any other discussion?
Is this the minutes here we're talking about?
Yep, the 2 that were printed off.
The only thing I notice is Paul's last name is spelt wrong in quite a few spots. But that's about it.
I saw that. I just didn't say
Sorry,
anything.
yeah, I was gonna say
Well, that's-
something.
I don't want to be that person.
I got you.
We'll have to get it fixed,
Thanks,
added
Nicole.
into autocorrect.
Good luck with that autocorrect.
Yeah.
Always has to be red, your name.
There you go.
Mr. Durante.
Add it into the library, and it'll make it. With those changes, is there any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. We have the bills to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Is there any other discussion? All those in favor of approving the bills, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say nay. Motion carries. Jason, we'll start with you tonight.
I do not.
Paul?
I got just a couple things, just kind of an update on the load controls. Jim's been working, I've mentioned this before too, but we're getting closer to having somebody to finish off that project. Hopefully that'll work to get going on that this fall or winter. We also have a lot of electrical projects going on yet this fall, so if you see the contractors around your area, that's what they're working on, is some electrical things. HEDC, they met, they did do a couple interest buy-down loans for a couple businesses in town, and then they also did visit a little bit, they're starting to have some conversation on ways to promote lot sales and Riverwalk. Okay, so that is on their radar, they're gonna figure out something, if there's any way they can do anything to help with that. So, on beautification, Levi's talked about this, but I was wondering if we could do anything with it. You know, we've talked a lot about putting a bigger Christmas tree in Railroad Park. I'd like to have him pursue that a little more, if you would. There's 2 evergreen trees in there right now that aren't in the best shape. To me, that might be a good location if we were able to get rid of those and get those stumps ground and everything. It would be a nice place, maybe put I don't know what size tree you had looked at, Levi, from them.
Somewhere around 20 foot, as big as that they could haul. I think it was 14 or 20, somewhere in there.
You think there's anything that would it be a good time yet this fall, or did they say anything on a good time to do that, or is that something we should just wait until next year? But I do want to start the conversation on it.
I can check into it again. Because we talked about getting trees moved in, that way we could have a Christmas tree lighting thing or something similar to that. And then we could talk about it more at the beautification at next meeting, because I should be able to get the numbers for them, and then we could approve it here. But I think last time it was right around 7. There was a lot of mileage involved, because they'd have to come down, take the hole out with the dirt, go back, get the tree, then come back, so it was twice the mileage. And that was out of Grand Forks when I had looked.
And I don't know if that's something that, I don't know, Jim, could you guys get rid of those trees and we could line up, and then they can haul them out instead of us cutting them down and hauling them? Okay, and then instead of us cutting them down and then hauling them to over there, and then you load them, then haul them to the dump. This way we do it in one process. So, you know, I just want, I don't know what the rest of the commission thinks on that, but I think if we're going to do something with that, I'd like to start the process on it, whether or not this time of the year is a good time to do it. I hear it both ways. from people that, yeah, you can plant them in the fall, they would know, obviously.
I think you can. You just
So-
gotta water it
Mhm.
and keep it
Right.
until it's gonna stop
Right.
growing, and then we'd have to,
And if we were gonna do lighting on it, it's close to electric there. We're not running 100 feet of electrical cord or anything like that, so. I don't know, what's your guys' thoughts on that? You know, I'd even like to, at some point, I'd like to, once we kind of get some of the trees, I'd like to look at doing some smaller trees, you know, scattered around there that we decorate similar to what the Business Association did. I think, JR, it seemed like we got pretty good feedback on that. People liked that. I know when we didn't do it because of stormy weather, you know, people asked about it, so I think it's something that would look nice, and whether or not we have individual, you know, you might even have businesses that would decorate them, but, you know, because they're there permanently, and we don't have to worry about them being blown down. That's something that we could talk about. Maybe you could do that in your price too, maybe get a price for, you know, some 4-footers or whatever it might be, some smaller ones, half a dozen or whatever we feel would fit out there, but I kind of I want us to start talking about it a little bit more. The beautification committee has been talking about it, but I kind of want to bring you guys in and see what your thoughts are. You know, it's cleaning it up a lot, getting some of the dead ones out of there. It'd be nice to get a nice one in there. We could start building on and go from that way. And so with your guys' blessing, I hope Levi can follow up on that more, and then we'll know for beautification next week, and we can bring it here, so.
maybe even HBA can see if they want to support behind it.
So,
If you didn't hear me. Sorry. I said maybe HBA will help throw support behind it. Okay. If you guys are okay, I'll look and let you know.
what do you think? Good?
No, I'm good.
Okay with it?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. And obviously, we won't know anymore until we get some prices on it, and we can make that decision then, but I just, you know, let's start getting that thing cleaned up a little bit, and of course, we got other things we gotta do there too, but that's kind of a baby step that we could do that isn't gonna really kill us, so. And we would have beautification funds, I would assume, for that available yet this year, depending on the price, obviously, so.
I think so.
But, and I think that's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
I don't have anything on my portfolio, but I'm going to kind of continue on what, you know, this railroad park, and I'm in a good mood, and I don't want to start any fighting here about this, but when we're going to take trees down, that's city property, and I think that the commission should be notified when we're going to, because the beautification committee actually falls under the city control. It's just an entity of the city, just like the planning and zoning is an entity. And I got approached about the trees that you guys took down, and I'm not criticizing them. They were dead, they need to be down, but I think that when city equipment is used, and I'm not faulting this, Levi, don't get me here, but when city equipment is used, the city commission should know what's going on with city property. Can that happen? When you do projects like this, that maybe the city commission should approve it for the beautification committee? You guys have any issues with that?
I have no issues with it.
And another thing, maybe, and you're talking about coordinating with Jim. Well, we got a pile of trees over here now that I've heard about, so maybe we could coordinate with the city guys down there and say, hey, we're gonna take a bunch of trees down on a certain day, and, you know, is it possible to get a couple of your trucks down there and, you know, and get it hauled out? You think that would work, Levi?
That would work.
Okay.
My plan was to get them out, but the day that I did it, my pickup was not available, so it was kind of hard to do it for me,
You were gonna haul them in your pickup?
using my trailer.
Well, I think, you know, what do you think, Jim, if work it out with you guys for a certain time to, you know,
That's fine.
to
If
get
you have
them?
the time to help to do it.
Yeah.
The trucks are always available.
I mean, I'm not criticizing you guys for what you did over there, but it's just, you know, when I get stopped in the street and somebody says, what are you doing with all them trees? And I go, I don't know. So,
Tell them we're donating them to you.
pardon?
Whoever asks, tell them we're donating them to you. How do you want to pick 'em?
So it would just make things, I think things would, and we want things to go smooth up here, so if you guys are gonna do beautification, is gonna do stuff like that, just, bring it up. Nobody's gonna say anything, or just make things run smoother. How's that sound?
Thanks, good. Sounds good. Thanks for the input.
Thank you.
That's all I have for tonight.
And I apologize that if I didn't bring it up, I thought I did, but obviously I didn't, so.
Well, that's taken care of. Thank you.
Nicole?
The only thing I have tonight is that I will be having a meeting with Steve Swanson to go over the stormwater master plan update, and then I should have something for the next meeting,
Okay,
and that's all I have.
thank you.
That wasn't him.
Planning and zoning had asked for to try to work on for storage containers. They haven't looked at this, but if you have anything or anything that you would like added in or comments for them, that's, would be added into the planning and zoning ordinance about those things. So I know we talked about it. They'll finalize it, how they want it to be written and move forward, and then it'll come to you guys for the final, but if there's anything now that you might have that you want changed or added, it'd be good before planning and zoning meets next Monday.
So I haven't read that thing, so, but are you, if somebody, if somebody wanted to come in and buy a lot, I'm not saying, like in Riverwalk or anything, but just an empty lot in town, and wanted to buy a storage container and actually turn it into a house, side it, put windows in it, is that not allowed, or?
That, so what this is saying is a storage container that's using as a container. I think it would have to go through planning and zoning, because then it would be a residential type structure. You're changing the use of it. This ordinance is based on just setting a storage container down and using it as a storage container.
Correct, right.
And for this ordinance, which we currently don't have, it would be no storage containers within residential blocks. And basically what this one, or what they had asked for, was that the front of it, or anything that would be facing a property, would need to be covered with a fence to the highest point of it, so. And we had one that did come in, and so we're trying to work with them to get that fixed. And I know the Vets Club has been talking about some stuff, so that's kind of where this got started. And they just want to make sure that there's something written so that nobody else can't say, well, so-and-so got away with this. So they're trying to get ahead of the game a little bit before it happens.
Okay, thank you.
Without reading this, there's nothing in residential period, right, allowed?
Correct.
But commercial would be, they could, with the proper plan, they could potentially do it.
Potentially, I would see it as, it's not a cargo storage container anymore, it's a house, if that's what they were looking at doing.
No, I'm talking about the business, like the Vets Club thing.
The business is, anything if it's zoned residential, that would not fit. If
Right.
it's zoned anything else, then it could. The only thing we possibly maybe would do as a variance would be if it's for some reason there's some business in a residential area, but I can't think of any right. And it does allow for a temporary but they still have to turn in a building permit if they're gonna do a construction or one of those things, but it's not a permanent type structure. And it's $1,000 per day fine again for when it's in there, when it shouldn't be. And then we also have a place for the ones, if there's any of them in ahead of time, that can be grandfathered into the ordinance, which would be the one that we have currently. Unless you guys wanted to change that and get it moved, but as before, it was put in. And this would be, they also wanted trailers as well, not to be included, so.
So we'll review this and it'll be on the agenda again for next meeting.
Right, it'll be on the agenda for next meeting, but if you have anything that you want, that you think should be
Get
added
out.
in or changed, just email me and make sure I relay it on to the planning.
Before Monday.
Before Monday.
Gotcha.
So that would be an adopted ordinance
It
when
would-
we're done with it? then?
Correct. It wouldn't be adopted in until, if there was any changes, we'd bring it to the next meeting. We could have a first reading then, and then you'd have a second reading after that. I don't want anything to go until planning and zoning looks at it and says, this is okay for you. JR also drafted out what you have here, an appointment agreement for our auditors, new auditor. If you want to look at that, technically we could wait until the next meeting because she wouldn't be officially starting until after that, so. If you have anything on this that you would like changed or added, we can approve it at the next meeting and then have her sign and move forward with that.
Will she see this before too, in case she's got any questions?
I can send it on to her.
Because that way we'll save that one step,
And I'll
Thank you.
just let her know that this isn't
that
completely
it isn't final, but. if
final,
she
but
wanted
it should be
some-
fairly close.
Yep.
JR usually does a pretty good job.
JR always does a good job.
On beautification, I wanted to give a shout out to Eric Johnson. I'm sure you guys seen the work out that he's been working on the mural over there. And the drips are actually, I asked him about it, I texted him and he said those are part of his design. So that's the border, I guess. So it's all good. He has a plan, so. So, but thank him for his time and effort of doing that. He's doing, again, he's doing it for free. He is just costing the supplies. So, and he again said that it's, looks like it'll be under $600 when he's totally done, so. I've heard a lot of comments about it, so it's been good. So on the new bill, or on the new disconnects that we had, or disconnect, what do we call it again? Payment contract, there we go. On the payment contract, we just want some clarification, because we have it already started, but what I had told Sarah was if somebody did not, they lapsed on their payment, so if they didn't make their payment that they were scheduled to make, which they agreed upon, then we wouldn't shut them off that day. We would, in order for them to keep it current, they would have to pay in full by the next cutoff date, or they would be done. Meaning, so if I had a payment plan and I was supposed to pay $100 today, and I didn't, or it didn't come in, or a few days late, in order for that payment plan to be current, they would need to pay now in full in order for us to shut off in the October shut off. So we wouldn't shut them off today, we'd shut them off in October unless it was paid in full. Does that sound,
They're delinquent and they're current.
correct? They'd have to have a zero balance. We just want clarification because it may come up at the next.
So you're saying is if they're, well, obviously if they're late on their regular monthly payment, they get shut off. But okay, so if you're saying if they miss one payment, then it gets, or that's what you want clarified?
I want to clarify because I have
Okay.
two that have missed their payments.
Okay. And are those done on a weekly, bi-weekly, a monthly basis? Or?
One is weekly and one is bi-weekly.
Right, so that kind of, I would say if they were a month, but if they're doing weekly payments, they're way behind, so.
And those were set up, they're the ones that said they want to do weekly or bi-weekly. It was not. We just wanted clarification. That was my understanding of it. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I didn't think it would start this soon, but. So, is that correct?
So we're
Everybody's
gonna, so if they miss a payment on their payment plan, then you're, okay.
Yep, they have to pay in full in order for them to keep those utilities on at the next one.
What did you tell them ahead of time though, so? If they, did you tell them if they miss a payment or didn't you really have?
Well, I told them that the contract is that they would pay weekly, but then their current bill, they have to keep that current.
Mhm.
They were in agreement with that.
So,
They have copies of their,
so that they're aware that if they wouldn't pay that weekly payment, that they could get shut off?
yeah.
Okay,
It's written right on the contract.
okay.
So what if they come in next week and pay on the
They would have to pay both weeks, correct?
I think if they got caught up on their weekly payments, possibly. Does that seem, are we,
Well,
JR, what are you setting ourselves up for?
It's hard to say. This is a lot quicker than we thought we'd have this issue. Whatever we do, we want to be straightforward with it and not change it. I agree with that, as whatever you said now is what you should do moving forward. And I would note from the thoughts, if they've already were behind in the utility billing, we gave them a payment plan, and now they're already behind in that. So we need to very clearly draw this line of, this has happened, you're in default. At this date, you're going to be shut off.
and maybe they were planning on being pretty aggressive to get it paid off, but maybe if they knew that, hey, you missed one, you could get shut off, they might look at it and say, well, maybe I don't want to do one every week. Maybe every 2 weeks type of thing, so, but as long as they're made aware of it.
The agreement specifically states if you miss a payment on the payment plan or your regular billing, you will be shut off.
There it is. I'm okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
So that means don't wait.
That's the way I understand it.
That's the way it reads to me.
Dave, you're okay with that? Yep. Nicole? Yep. So, pay it in full. I think the payment plan was a way to try to help them get out of it, and
But they could potentially be shut off tomorrow. Because they have, that's what the contract says.
right, is that what you guys want to do, is shut off tomorrow?
Well, as long as you made it perfectly clear to them that they would be shut off, that's,
And it's written right on the contract.
right, well, I haven't looked at it recently, so, but if that's what it's written in the contract, and even go that one step further to make sure, hey, now you are aware of this, right? Type of thing when you sign this, that way, you don't have to do that, but that's kind of a common courtesy that if you miss one payment, if we're gonna be aggressive on it, I guess we gotta be aggressive, there's no,
I mean, we send out so many different
Mhm.
notices to them,
yep.
How many-
Very time consuming.
How many days has it been? Both, either one of them?
One was Friday and one was supposed to be Sunday, so I gave them today. Because obviously the first was a Sunday, so.
Should we give them 5 calendar days from if their payment is not turned in?
That probably should be stated on the contract. That's-
But then, then you can argue the fact that, or maybe you got to update it that it needs to be in the office on that particular day, so don't mail it on Monday when it's supposed to be there type of thing, so.
Right.
But,
What if we just set up all payment plans to be this much each month, put them all on a monthly if they want to pay ahead of time in a weekly manner to reach that total that way? All the payments are due right before shut off, so if they miss it, they're turned off on the next shut off.
That's less stressful.
Right. And I guess I thought they were gonna be monthly. I didn't think anybody would set up on a weekly
yeah, that
payment.
really surprised me, so. So basically, it'll be shut off at the next shut-off date. Yeah. So that kind of gives them a grace a little bit, depending, too, so, okay.
But then they have to get caught up before,
They have to pay their delinquent and their current.
yep. Whatever they said they were gonna pay in that month. And just from future, make sure it's a month and make it due on the 10th, just like our normal ones.
And if they do come in and catch it up, maybe even switch them over to the monthly, and then we don't have to worry about it in the
Right.
future.
Right. But that way, if they're not done on the 10th, or they're not paid on the 10th from thereafter, we can shut off, just like the normal shut offs, and we're not doing anything special. Okay. Okay. Clear? You're good?
Yeah.
Jim, do you have anything tonight?
No, I don't.
JR? Sarah? Steve? The next item is Swanson was gonna try to make it, but he said he couldn't, so Jim is supposed to help fill in on this as much as he can. This is an application for assistance to do the survey for our lead lines that could possibly be on the water. Is that correct, Jim?
Correct.
And so it's all filled out, all we'd have to do is submit, but this would be to help with submission of, our checking these. To make sure that we are compliant with it. And was there a date that we have to have this done by, Jim? Do you remember?
When I asked him today, he said soon. So,
Well, I meant this soon, but when are we have to have the
the inventory,
inventory?
that's a good question. I'm thinking that's going to take, this is just for a grant for assistance, and then once they get everything, he kind of explained it, they get everything into the pool, then they decide where the money will go for communities, for assistance to do just the inventory part of it. And then once, this is gonna take several years.
Okay.
Once they have an inventory and realize how much you have, then they'll give you so much money to do that. And my understanding is it's gonna be funded completely by the federal government. So it's a big deal. It's been going on for a while, and they're finally gonna start doing it, so.
Okay.
But this is just a grant to help pay for just the inventory, which means checking every line in town that we're not quite sure whether it's lead or not. So,
And this is just our lines, not the homeowner's lines, correct?
I tried finding it before you asked the question, but I almost think goes all the way, eventually it's gonna go all the way into the home.
Right.
So whether we pay for part of it, our responsibility, and then they have funding for their end, I'm not quite sure where that's going, but.
Right.
They do have the service line ownership fully owned by utility, just checks. I don't know if that has anything to do with, if they'd have to do both of them, the customer and utility, in order to do that, but I'm sure Steve can answer that question.
Those are for the record. Are you sent, which one are you talking about, Paul?
Well, second page on the top, just says service line ownership, and then it's just got fully owned by the utility, and
Which means to the curb stop.
and that's got fully owned by the customer, so I don't know what,
And then it should change ownership at the curb stop. So
So that should be changed.
that should be changed. I need to talk to him about that. I didn't see that.
Hmm.
So
So we'll make sure we get that changed before I sign. As long as you authorize us, or authorize me to sign off on this. He did come and talk to us about it a long time ago.
Yeah, and if you don't, there will be help, and we'll be paying for everything ourselves, so.
Yep.
Is the grant going to pay for the whole entirety of his work then, or is there any kind of cost share that you know of? Did Steve?
My understanding is that it's gonna,
They're gonna
we'll get
cover it.
funds for all of the work.
For their work.
for-
Okay.
And we've been documenting for a few years now. Anytime we do a change or we find a line, or when we're in a house, you take a picture. If the service is lead, we're taking pictures, so we're trying to stay ahead of it. And Steve
Correct.
said today, he said, you guys are actually a little bit further. Some communities have already done it on their own, but he said you guys have done quite a bit now to help start this, so.
Okay. Do I have a motion, or is there any other questions? Jason makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul to approve applying for the lead service line inventory. Is there any other discussion? Seeing none. Nicole?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries.
Do you want me to contact them and get those changes and have them send it to you, or are you gonna talk to them?
I'll email them tonight before I leave
Okay.
here. Or if it's a PDF, maybe I can just change it without. We'll hold off on the Oster property because the beautification hasn't met, so we'll do that next week. We'll go under to the draft budget. Has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Thoughts, comments?
Just a couple things on the electrical side that some are just bookkeeping things, some are things that I'd like to see maybe changed. That's 604, Fund 604. It's kind of a jump way up there, but page 10,500, sir. Getting there.
What were some things while she's getting there? Because I'll make the changes on it so we can.
Okay. Just a couple clarification things. You got the salaries, I'm assuming that you're adding some salaries from other departments into that, right?
Correct. Instead of doing transfers, I moved all the salaries. All of Public Works is split either to electrical fund or the water fund,
Okay.
because our other two funds were not pulling anything, so it's just helping them on that end, so it'll be a 50-50. No longer put in sewer and no longer put in streets.
Is that a permanent thing, or are you looking at just until we get those accounts back
Just
up?
until we get those accounts fixed.
Okay.
And, we could look at it again next year, but I think.
And they may never be able to take care of themselves.
Right.
Just because of the way they are. Okay. And then I talked a little bit with both Sarah and Jim about this. On the services side, I'm not 100% sure what's all included on that, but it's only you have estimated revenues for 2024 of only 40,000. I'm thinking that we we're looking at doing we're looking at doing more service work next year to try and do more work with electrical in areas that need. So I wouldn't, we way back in 2021, we spent 120. In 2022, we spent 99,000. So I'm thinking, the more we're able to put in there, the more we can do. Because this is mainly, I'm looking at maintenance type things. Obviously, you're going to have emergency things that may come up, but I would like to, if we could, I'd like to see us budget a little bit more on that side.
We definitely can. We have, so our ending balance is going to be 614, and we were at 271, and that was also putting 150,000 into capital projects to help with some of those bigger projects over time that we could have some more capital in there to deal with. Do you have a number in mind, Paul?
Well, I'll start with 150, and we can see where we go from there.
Okay. And we can always amend and change and add to it.
So,
Okay.
Jim is getting sick of hearing me bugging him about doing all this, but
So that'd put us approximately at 504,914 at the end of this year. Maybe I should just share.
are you okay with that number, Jim? You think that should be?
And we can always amend it along the way. We just have to make sure that we do that.
And then also on that, we've been looking at, and I gave that to you too, a little brief kind of training. I'm just wondering I don't know if there's anything that would fall in here under their expenditures. We're looking at, we all know that we want to get our people up and do as much training as we can to help on this. And I was talking to Jim, I know we don't have a expenditure line there, I don't know if we can add that, but I wouldn't mind seeing in the future that we could budget about 10 grand a year for that training.
We could put that under other miscellaneous.
So
Would you like it in this year?
you'd like it in this year, wouldn't you, Jim, in 2024, right?
The funds for that, yes.
Yep.
That's a plan.
Yep.
So it's 10,000 for the,
But from what I understand, well, Jim, you go ahead, you know it more than me.
I couldn't remember the price on it.
That four-year program was about 10,000 a year, but there will be other workshops that some of the other guys could attend too, even though they're not planning on becoming full-time linemen. So I would say maybe more than 10, maybe even put 15 in there. Well, we won't know until next year how that program works and what,
If we can even get in it, right?
yeah, how far in we go. I mean, 10 will take care of that one enrollment for the one employee, but if you have some others going to, say like this workshop next week, how much was that? That was
That was a couple thousand.
750 plus expenses. So,
Why don't I plant, is 20,000 okay?
yes, yeah.
And we'll put that under other expenses. Does that work, Sarah? Or if you have a better one?
How would you like to start a line for it? On a fund, a fund?
It's like, exactly what we use,
Right.
otherwise it's all lumped together.
Right, right.
Just my thoughts.
Okay. So you'll have to,
Get a number for that, I suppose.
you'll put a number in, but I'll put it, there's a services line that doesn't have anything. I'll just change services to employee,
Training, yes.
or employee education. I'll let you figure out the number for that. Okay. Anything else, Paul?
Well, other than just some clarifications and other stuff, but that's something that's not going to really change the budget, it's just budget at all. It's just some questions that I have.
Now's
so-
the time to ask.
Well, let somebody else speak. I took up my time. If anybody else has any questions, go ahead and take care of them first.
And the other thing that I'd like to have us approve in this budget is changing our garbage rates from the $18.75 to $20 a yard or per container, depending on commercial, I think is $18.75 a yard, so we charge $20 a yard. And then recycling would go up to $6.50 a tote. Other than that, the other utilities wouldn't have to change at this time.
I thought we were looking, I thought you had something in there on electrical, a small amount.
There was electrical on there, but that was from last year. It wasn't from, it was something that I had put in last year, not this year, so.
Okay. It
unless
was
you-
like a,
But we do need,
because it was pretty small, it was like a half of a cent, I think, or something like that, something.
I know, but I think let's, I feel like this is enough to move forward on our
Yep.
city to try to put on to them. If we can
Yep.
hold off and try to do it again a little
That's-
bit more next
That's fine.
year or later this fall or next fall is my thought. Because with this, we are getting the budget back into the black. Everything's back in the black, so that will help.
Even with the new waste management contract, we'll still be in the black, do you think? At that rate?
With that rate, 602, no, garbage is 603. Yes,
I was think-
that would put us barely.
Okay.
That's actually no transfers in, and we would be generating a revenue of about 382.
We're losing money now on it.
Right, and that's the biggest thing. We have to just keep on top of things and try to, and I hope one thing when Sarah can get back into more things is see where we're at, figure out something at some point where we can find how much are we spending, how much is coming in, and we can kind of see that on a monthly basis. Don't worry, it's not tomorrow.
Dave, have you talked to them at all? Have they given you any indication what that contract might be for next year?
No, I have not.
So if it is over the 305, you want to make sure that we adjust accordingly if it ends up being over that, right?
And I'm sure from now to when the contract is, it'd be a different number anyway,
Right.
And what our contract now, what's fluctuating on our contract is the price of fuel, is what I,
Correct, yeah.
Mhm.
So it seems like it's been like that for,
right, and that's where if the fuel prices would go down, then we would be better, but,
And are we charged by the tote? Are we charged by the tonnage? How do we get charged?
by the tote. I gotta find it again. Sarah had sent it to me.
So I know along our road, each of us that have apartments above pay double, so that's $37.50 a month. But all the commercial businesses along that line only have that one dumpster, and it's completely full every single time. So it's really hard for the commercials to get their garbage in that one bin. So for me, each business is paying up to $40 a month for one garbage container. That's like a couple $100 a month to share a garbage container that's constantly full.
That is
You're seeing a
interesting.
tote or the large?
The large bin out back. in the parking lot, but I've heard complaints about it constantly being full.
But that's, you're supposed to do the split between each, if it's 6 yard, how big are those, 6 yards or
Should be 6.
6 yards? So if you're maybe each getting billed for a yard or something then, or?
I
Does
don't
that
know.
make sense? At 40, how much is it for a yard, do you know? 20 something, so,
You know, I thought it was the same rate of whatever the totes are, that was
That's
the,
all, that's getting picked up once a week, and you're sharing that with like all the businesses.
Right.
The whole line.
right.
So, I mean,
Plus, I'm guessing a few visitors. I would suspect. Well, just throw it in the coal dumpster.
I'm pulling up their bill here, just give me a second.
I know the one at the Armory gets used a lot.
Does it?
I see cars.
Community.
And we don't pay for cardboard, that is a free service.
They could throw in it, it's not labeled.
I guess they make money off that.
Nobody knows what it's for.
By rights, the recycling should be free too.
We could only hope, Dave. That's the wrong one.
Are you good with all that? One time we talked about that we should get that increased. Did it get increased? No, for your,
They moved
for.
it.
That was the
maintenance.
fund statement.
To behind the brewery now.
Looks like he approved it up to there. That look right?
Yep. Yeah.
Right, that would be, Right.
I'm not gonna lie, I sometimes jump up in there and brush it down and stomp it
I'm
in
not,
so I
I'm
can
not
get
sure
my
how
hair
that's,
in
you might
there.
want to ask how
Yeah,
that's
a girl's
split.
gotta do what a girl's gotta do.
So if they can do more stonework,
I want no rotten
because if
food
you're gonna have a
smelling.
if you're doing a $7,000,
I've even
mowing
jumped in the cardboard one
contract,
and broke down people's cardboard boxes.
what does that leave you left for,
I've
for
spent numerous
your
hours
other
by that
stuff?
container.
This must be regular improvement projects. So it did go up a couple thousand anyway.
I'm
While
not
I'm
in
looking,
there.
Paul, do you have any other questions?
So you might be okay
No
there.
room.
If that's what you feel.
Yeah, he hasn't called me back as far as he was supposed to call me on Thursday.
Okay,
They're
Try to
about
talk
9
to
to
him.
12.
sure. At least it went up, so we can do some more out there.
Yep.
There's, more business coming in along that line, so
I don't know.
it adds up. Not complaining, I like seeing the business, but go your dirt, Joe. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know what that one is, just that flat top one.
And then say, while he's looking at that on the sales tax for HEDC, that always seems like it's got a balance in there for a substantial amount. Is there a reason, a way we can get that straightened out so that it's reflective? Because it should zero out every month depending upon when you get payments.
should be like as
In and out, right. So,
Well, I was going over that with JR too, and we have that little,
Oh, yeah.
which is so weird.
well, I could see it doing the payment, whether it was like 11,000 or 9,000, but why would it be 18,000? We never have a payment of that. So what I'm asking is there a way we can get that so that it matches? Or at least research it, and maybe Jerry's already researched it and got it figured out. What's that? Right. So we either should get it, if it's not supposed to be us, it should be taken back, and if it should be us, they should get a check to clear that.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, so we get charged 96 gallon toters. There's 666, and then there's another section of 96 gallon recycling toters, which we have 680. And then there's the second recycling, which is 13. So we get charged per tote.
Question on those totes, are they charging for a month, for the month, or
per month.
You know, 'cause, small households, you know, that are every 2 weeks, we put the totes out.
Daryl, if you want to talk, can you please come up to the mic?
Everybody heard me, right?
They just can't hear you online.
Okay. On those totes and everything, Marie says that they're charged by the month. But, you know, small families and everything, we only put our receptacles out every other week. So it's twice a month that we use those receptacles. As far as recycling, we don't have enough trash to recycle for once every 7 months. So, you know, we're being charged for services that we're not using.
You could also say that, Daryl, on a lot of things, that somebody might not fill up their garbage container, because personally, I fill up 2 recyclings, and now our garbage is probably half to 3/4 every time. So but Daryl, it's, if we didn't do that, if we didn't turn on recycling, you would have seen a higher jump in you.
Yeah, that was the last meeting, I questioned the recycling portion of it and everything, and they said to get the lower rate on the pickup, we had to get the recycling, so I kept my mouth shut.
So I'm actually, when you figure it out, we are being charged $4.77 per the recycling, and it's $26.49 for the garbage a month. So
we should even look at, that would explain why we're going in the negative.
mhm. That was for last month,
It's very, like, the bills are never the same every month.
right?
I mean, they're around the same, but they're not.
So if I go back to, I'll say March, was fuel cheaper in March? I think it was.
Dave might know. He probably pays closer attention than we do.
I think it was, if I remember right. I buy diesel, so I think it was cheaper in March.
Yeah, that garbage thing, I can see what he's talking about, but I don't know how we would solve that problem.
You'd have to jack the rates way up.
Well, yeah, I don't know. If you keep everything, I guess if you lowered it down for one person and, well, then everybody'd want a small tote, and then everybody else would be getting somebody else's garbage put in somebody else's. So,
Correct, and I just don't know that would,
I think we had different sized totes at one time, didn't we, Jim? Smaller and certain people, and, but,
I think that we did it, and that was, I think, more of a physical thing.
yeah.
I'm assuming they were charged the same, they didn't like those big, heavy totes to push around.
our internet's being slow. And the other thing that's in there that we are adding in is that we have those dumpsters next to City Hall that are anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 a month as well, so there's another service that is not getting covered, which I don't know how high we can go without.
right. Yeah, I think it's just a gradual thing. So,
Right.
We're gonna eat some, there's no doubt about that, but
I mean, there's other businesses other than City Hall that uses those,
everybody can use those.
so those are just free to use.
Mm-hmm. Am I right, Jim? Yeah. Sure, yeah, resident.
There it comes.
We need to clarify, we need to clarify that, yeah.
I will note, if you look at other cities, a lot of them usually charge more for businesses to offset some of the costs from the residents. I just pulled up Grand Forks and they charge $20 per tote versus they charge $30 per yard for businesses, that is.
It's 2637 in March. So we should,
Yep.
I'll let you guys, my number is not quite high enough either, so.
Well, we can leave it there until we get a contract, then we'll know. If it gets more yet, then we'll have to adjust accordingly. Otherwise, we're going to be running in the red there all the time, so.
And that's, you know, this would be the first of the year that I would look to do that, so.
I'm not sure what month the contract is. Do you know what month the contract
I
is?
can't remember.
I know it's next year, I believe.
I know you had brought it, but I don't remember.
And maybe it'll go down.
You are very, very up.
Should be
Bold,
November, I
maybe,
think.
underline 5 times.
If it's the contract I'm looking at, it would have expire November 30th, 2024.
November 30th?
Well, the one I have here is from 2016, 2021,
That would be right.
and then it had a 3-year renewal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So we're probably going to be somewhere next year then. We won't even go up then.
Well, depends on if fuel gets up to $5. Should we hold off on that? And I still haven't gotten the rate sheet put together. I can put it on there and we can make that change, but that was a consideration to add those changes in, so. Do you have any other questions, Paul?
The only other one I got is the mosquito control, Fund 607. If you look at that from 2021, that has also gone down pretty steadily every year due to increased costs. I'm concerned that, are we going to end up getting in the negative on this thing if we end up having a bad mosquito year? I'm just wondering, because that's only 50 cents, I believe, right now, and my question is, do we need to put that, it used to be $1 a month, you know, should we look at putting that back up to $1, just so that that fund doesn't end up in the red on us?
I can't remember what, Jim, do you remember why we went from $1 to 50 cents?
I'm thinking because there was an abundance of money in the fund that was just basically sitting there. And I mentioned it to Paul, and I know in the past years, my suggestion was at time to time when we were looking for a new vehicle, a new pickup, was to take some out of the mosquitoes. But as far as I know, there's never been anything taken out of the mosquito fund. Now is not the time to do it because we're down. But that would be one way to be generated instead of taking it out of the other 4 constantly, which is what we do.
Well, you'd actually have to triple it, Paul, to get it to 0 right now,
Well, I don't,
right? But we should probably move up.
mhm.
And I can do that on the sheet too. Because right now we charge on the buildings, we get about 6,300 and our expenditures are 18, so that's 3 times what we have.
Right.
It wouldn't take long if we had a bad year, it would take long to get rid of that.
Mhm.
Right.
I'd be
And,
okay with raising it to $1.
Okay. I'll try to get that done for no later than November. Hold me accountable to that. Sarah?
And I think I've used up my
Does
allotted
not
time.
need what the billings or what our rates are gonna be doesn't have to be part of the budget, no. But it is supposed to be part of a sheet that we have for our rates. So that's what I'd said, I'd hope to get it done by the November meeting so that we can approve it and move it on. And with wages, I had looked at 5%. That's what.
What'd they get last year?
6.
6? You're laughing at, Sarah. I'll take my clown hat off.
Which is about 50 to 75 cents for most employees per hour.
Probably still won't cover the groceries, but it'll help. As long as they spend it in town. We've got great employees, we need to take care of them.
So with that, if there's no other questions, do I have a motion to approve the 2024 budget with those changes in the electrical fund?
I'll make the motion.
Dave makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Paul. Is there any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. Under new business, we have, we need to have KCB put on as a signer for the city at our bank accounts. So we just need a motion to approve that so we can get that process started. Because it seems like it takes a month or two.
I'll make the motion to add Casey as a signer for the city.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Jason to add Casey as a signer in all of our financial documents and bank accounts. Any other discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Next one is, it's the America the Beautiful grant through the North Dakota Forest Service. We had applied and used that one last year. They've changed a little bit this year. That last time it was a 50-50 match. Now it is a 100%. If we do plantings, or tree removal and plantings. And that would be on all city-controlled trees, so boulevard or properties that we could do it on. And so I don't know details completely on it, but from the suggestion of the Forest Service would be that we would say, could possibly either find out which residents would want to take care of the tree on their boulevard where we're going to plant. That way we have somebody that's going to care for it, with the hope of putting them in wherever we've taken out. Like we have 25 that we've taken out, so try to get them within a block, on that block, or within a block, and then add more that need to be taken out. Again, we have 65 to 70% of our trees are elm, and it is now on the other side of the river working its way over. I think Ada has it. Or ash, yep, sorry. Ash trees. And the elm to ash borer is close, so. They said there is a treatment that you can put on the trees to help prevent it once they get here, but they said that's even more costly than planting new trees, so I think Moorhead and some of those communities have started doing that. hopefully if we can start ahead of the game and we can keep doing this every year, this is one way to help. And I know we're still waiting. The person in town couldn't do because they weren't on the grant, we finished the grant. And so we've submitted for that. I think Sarah got that all put in, so we should be able to get payment here soon, I would think. You got the final numbers put in, right? The grant, for the last grant that we had.
Oh, yeah, yes.
Which I was able to make, so we were able to get it up by the other stuff that we have done. So as long as you're okay, I would still like to get those stumps removed without using the contractor that we would have had to use. We could use the one locally if he wants to do it, to get those 25 stumps removed. And we can use some of those funds that we have coming to pay for that, to get that finished. And then, but this would be to, again, take out some of the trees that are more on that dead and dying, or ones that have been damaged, and then plant new trees.
Instead of elms or ashes, does any evergreen trees cover that? You know, like a pine or a...
You mean to put them in?
spruce?
To put them in or to take them out?
Put them in.
Currently, they don't recommend that we put pine trees on the boulevards.
Or spruce, you know.
Any type of evergreen, they don't, the Forest Service does not recommend those on the boulevards.
Okay. I just wanted to-
Yeah, it'd kill all your grass, pretty much. And that too.
Yep.
When you'd have issues with corners or whatnot for visibility.
And I even mentioned to JR I think I sent it on to him, that we should possibly change in our ordinance that we follow the recommendations of the North Dakota Forest Service instead of the list that we have. So we're not trying to change it, just follow the recommendations from. So if that's something you can do, we could have JR draft that, and I'm sure that's a pretty easy change, like 2 words.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
So with that, what are your thoughts on applying for the grant this year?
It's 100% match. I don't see why we wouldn't.
Okay. And it's due by the end of the month, so I would get it filled out, and then you guys would see it before they.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with that.
Okay. Then with that, should we change our ordinance so that it matches that? And if so, could we do a first reading? No, we shouldn't we could bring a first reading next month.
We'll just wait and try.
Yep. As long as you're okay with him, is that agreeable to everybody that we should do a draft?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And how about the stumps? Are you okay with me trying to get, or maybe I can get Paul to help I could never catch the guy, so. Would you like to get those stumps removed for the 25 that we have? Like I said, there is funds, because I was planning on adding that on to the grant, but I was able to make city equipment work in there, so we were able to get our match in, so we'll get the full 10,000 coming back. Otherwise, we were only gonna get 7,500, I think.
Well, we probably should do something with them, I would think. I don't know. Being we got the grant for it. What's your thoughts, Jim?
I'd say if we have the money.
Because you're probably going to have a hard time getting them planting something new if there's a stump out there.
Great. So do I have a motion then to approve to get the 25 stumps removed, and then plus the ones in Railroad Park removed? I think there's 4.
And there may be more.
Do I have a motion to approve that?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Paul, to get the stumps removed from our last grant, and then the ones in Railroad Park. Is there any other discussion?
Do we need to put a value on it at all, a max limit or anything, or what you're thinking is going to be the price?
We'll find the cheapest we can, is my hope. Not saying that it'll get done by now, but at least
Well-
we'll move forward to get it started, so. Any other discussion? Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And a yes for me. All right. Next item is our, John Julson has been our city attorney for 47 years. And he is retiring officially, at least from the city side of it. He did let me know that he was officially going to retire, step back from, and he finished his last project over at Riverwalk, so JR's completely on, 100%. So 47 years is a very long time to be part of the city government and active in the community. And so I talked about that we should do something for his retirement. I looked and I spoke with Deb, and there was only one date in November that they wouldn't work for their family, because I reached out to her to make sure that if any of his children and family wanted to attend, that they would be able to. And that's November 16th through the 19th. So we could look at the 11th, the 4th, or we could go into December 2nd, I would say. I was thinking a Friday or Saturday evening, open house type, invite all the past commissioners, mayors, presidents, workers to come back if they would so choose, and then get him some type of gift.
You said December 2nd?
Correct. Well, that'd be the Saturday. We could do the 1st or the 2nd, or November 3rd or 4th, or November 10th or 11th. Because I didn't think Thanksgiving we would want to do it. Thoughts?
December works best for me.
Okay. December 1st, Friday or Saturday?
Either or. Friday. I want Friday.
Friday?
Better.
Okay. Where should we host the event? In here? Or,
Probably.
I would think you're going to have people coming and going. You're not going to have everybody here at one time. And
right. Okay. I suppose we should have cupcakes or cake or something. I don't know if anybody knows of business in town that might be able to do that.
I'd actually like to see the office. I'd like to see Casey and them and maybe Nicole, kind of coordinate that event. And, because I think Casey kind of is into that kind of stuff, isn't she? So I think I could give it a shot. And
Okay.
obviously, we'll help or we can help, but we need somebody to kind of coordinate the food and getting in touch with past mayors, past council people. You guys would have access to that, and
Well,
making
and-
sure.
So with that, do you want appetizer type things with finger type food? Do you want, or do you want a full-blown meal?
Well, I don't know if I'd go with a full-blown meal, but I think we should have at least some.
I mean, at
some
one time, I
appetizer.
thought we could have a roast of John Juleson, but
Well, would you like to head that up, Jim, since you know him the best? You might have something you can roast them about, so. I think that's something that maybe you could help too, but they could, hey, what are we willing to do here, and what should we do, and what's appropriate, and, you know, so, because we won't be doing another one until about 2069, so. I took care of that for you. I took care of that for you, JR, so.
well, he has to beat the record, so I think he's gonna go for
Okay.
50.
Go around 2070 there.
So John, if you're listening, make sure, December 2nd. Or no, December 1st. December 1st. December 1st.
That was close.
All right. And are you okay with me looking for some type of memorial for him to give? Technically not a gift, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
whatever you and the ladies feel is appropriate. Because you're a gift giver, aren't you? So you know exactly what everybody wants. A gift receiver. Duly noted.
And there is some funds left in the presidential, that line item, so I can take those out of there for it, so. Huh?
We have a presidential.
It was a line item that I put in a year ago to help with any of those things that are outside that we might have that we could do that might not fit in. I think we used it for something else this year. A couple times, I don't remember
Yeah,
what.
we've used it a couple times, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So when Paul asks, you know, how much do I have? It's not a lot, it's like 9 grand. It's 8 or 9 grand, so don't
We did
expect,
increase it a little bit this year coming up, so you must have big plans.
don't expect a new pickup out of it, so.
Doesn't that fall under lodging and tax? Somebody's gonna have to.
I thought maybe that Nicole was going down, where's mine?
Okay, so I'll work with the 3 of them and myself will get it set up for December 1. Okay. And if there's any past commissioners, residents, things that want to send something in that they maybe couldn't, I thought about a video or notes that we can send to them too, so, reach out on the city hall and they can help get it all put together. All right. Next item is the Renaissance Zone application for Provost Properties.
So I see 2 applications here, Renaissance Zone and the property tax incentives.
Can they do both? JR? On the same property?
I think they both do the same thing,
But we can't do.
so it's one or the other,
But we can't do property tax exemption unless it's a
primary sector and
primary
this
sector.
one. Yeah.
And this one would count under primary sector?
Well, I don't think so either. We'd have to ask for the Department of Commerce's approval, but we can't approve the rent zone, which should give them
Right.
their exemption. So it's what they want. So I think that'd be the one to go for.
I would recommend that one. On that one, number 11 needs to be answered with a letter of good standing to attach with it, and then it will be complete. Oh, the request is in for the state.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that might take a
Okay.
couple days.
Okay.
A couple weeks? I know some people. Huh. Usually it comes in pretty quick, so I'll see if I can find that contact.
Well, it has to be specific to the Renaissance zone.
Yep.
Because like we try, you can go online and get a letter of good standing just
Yep.
to do first stop. But we only contact them directly. But because Provost Properties is a newer business, I think that might be part of the holdup is people think it's been operating for like a year.
Well, I got it on Sunday Brew before it opened. So I'll look up, yep, I'll look up who that contact is.
I'll see if I can get a hold of Ricky again and find out.
Yeah, I've got the lady's name at home.
Yes, I would believe it. When, if we approve it, then it goes to the county, correct? I remember.
That's like the office.
Central Division of Community Services. But yes, yeah, it gets to the county. We're just one stop on the road.
Okay.
Do I have a motion then to approve the Renaissance Zone application for Provost property?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Jason, seconded by Nicole, to approve the Renaissance Zone application for Provost property. Is there any other discussion? Paul?
Yes.
Nicole? Dave?
Yes.
Jason?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries.
You want to hand this one over?
Tara, thanks for
Probably
taking the
gotta
time to do that and use that program. We really pushed that a lot, so I'm glad to see people are looking at it, so. Yes, that's what I'm saying. That's why I said thank you.
I understand, I went through the process.
All right, the next item
Just
is,
if is there something that we can do on our end to make it easier, or no? It's just nothing we can really do?
Just through the state.
It's just the way it is? Okay.
If there was a way to explain what they want, like what they're asking for, like looking for things like a mill rate, like we had to contact our accountant so many times to answer questions in order to fill out the paperwork. It's just, you really have to know where to look, like we were in contact with PR trying to find information, like you get to reach out to so many different people, like I was in Sarah's office for like an hour to, like, on 2 different occasions trying to figure out the paperwork, so.
Is there something like that on the state level?
I
that-
didn't go through that process. Like, I filled out the application, and then there was an application that Ricky gives that you complete. And then basically, once it's approved through here, then it goes there, that gets approved, then they start the renovations. When it's done, they basically let her know, hey, it's done. They complete the rest of the application from Ricky, and then it goes to the county.
It's just, but filling out the application.
But yeah, I didn't-
Descriptions and like, basically trying to figure out definitions and where to find the information was the most difficult part for us, like that was the most time consuming.
Yeah.
Why would yours have been different?
I don't know. I didn't have any issues completing mine.
she has more experience.
She kind of just.
She does it on a daily basis.
I am in the state systems a lot.
There, I do know that Governor Burgum has his initiative again, which is part of, I think, Lieutenant Governor, no, Lieutenant Meyer sent out about it again, that they're having an opening for red tape reduction, so that might be something you can put in for that. Where you just, basically you just submit to the, it's on the governor's website, you would submit how to help make the process easier and more effective to help government cut some of the red tape. Next, we have a application for a raffle for Shining Lights for a calendar raffle, $500 cash they'll be given out.
Have you looked at that?
They will say online, but it will not be online.
Yeah, maybe
I will-
JR should look at that.
They won't approve it, so I will.
They've gotten like very, very strict.
Yep. So I will let her know that, and if I didn't see that till now. Wish we would have caught that. Do you want to give me 5 seconds?
She filled it out in 5 minutes. She should be back in 5 minutes, right?
So just like Jimmy John's, freaky fast.
While you're doing that, we could ask if there's any, if that's for something else, if there's any citizens that want to address.
So what you put on here, that it can be an online rental, that is actually illegal to me. He's been doing it. Which you could sell this square, just not online. You go around and tell them, like an order in your life. If it costs you, then it's gonna buy them.
I killed about 4 before you got here.
Instead of that, it'll be a board raffle. And is it for month 14? She did not know that, so I asked her if she'd like to change to in-person sales, and she said yes. So with that change, and I'll reach out to her again to make sure that it's done right. And I'll reach out to the person that has been running it and make sure it's done right.
She made a concerned face, that's what I wondered. Something that she's worried about.
I don't know. They're so very strict on that, so see how it goes.
It's not the first time, so. And we can pull the license if we do see it. So with that, would you like to approve it or hold off on it? I will leave it up to you.
Do we, JR, do you review all those for us? or-
I haven't seen this one, no.
But is it a practice to review them for us?
That's a question.
Normally just within that time, so the packets are before I have.
Okay.
And normally they don't put online sales on it.
Did she have a different method for selling?
She said that we can go around face to face, and I said, yes, you could do that. Or that you can have them contact a person, but you can't do it online.
Or through Venmo?
Correct.
You'll have her fill out a new one, or can they change
I think I would feel more comfortable if she filled out a
Yep. We'll have her fill out a new one, and then we'll make sure that we reiterate again if you approve it with that contingent.
So you're
I'll
looking
make-
for a motion
To approve
to
that
approve
with,
that
with the
contingency of filling out a new.
filling out a new application and that it's not going to be online or be sold.
I'll make the motion that we approve it with the rewrite of, and in the in-person sales.
Is there a second?
All second.
Moved by Dave, seconded by Paul. Any other discussion? Jason?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Paul?
Yes.
Any yes for me? Motion carries. Jason had called me about this earlier, and I forgot to put it on the agenda also. The person that he said from Mayville that's been talking about it didn't actually reach out, but I do think it's something that we should throw support behind, personally. The county is meeting tomorrow, or they have a hearing to talk about salary ranges, and with the issues, especially that we are placing through the sheriff's department, I would hope that they would look at raising the salaries and doing the things to make it more competitive so that we can make sure that we can have the policing in our community that we need. So if that is something that you want to do, I could try to quickly draft something to send to Glenda before tomorrow, or we could ask Jason on our behalf, because he said it would be there anyways, and say then it's coming from the commission and not coming from Jason, because I know he wanted to stay out of it as much as he could for conflict. But if it came from us asking him to do that, that'd be another way, if you felt comfortable doing that.
Yeah, if you guys drafted something and just needed it dropped off, I could take it to Glenda.
But it'd be something that I have to get done tonight, so it wouldn't be, I could send it out, but you guys aren't gonna be able to look at it a whole bunch. Because they're meeting at 9 tomorrow, or 9:30.
9?
Are other cities doing this, or like Mayville and the
Mayville
rest of
and-
your contract cities, are they basically getting behind this? Or?
I haven't spoke to any of them directly. Word is I've heard possibly. Don't, like I said, I kind of have just stayed out of it, being I have a different interest.
And part of that is I hope that you understand that if we say this, I mean, we are going to see an increase in our policing contract funds, or what it's gonna cost, but unfortunately, I also look at, it doesn't matter what Mayville is saying and what Hatton is and the rest of our communities this is an essential service that we need in our community, and if we want that, and to make sure that the sheriff's department is in full force to make the coverages that we need, is this something that we need to send to the county and let them know that, yes, if you do this, we're not gonna balk this and say we can't. Because it's not just the sheriff's department salaries, I assume that they're looking at, it's all salaries. But at least if we say that, yes, we would stand behind the sheriff's department, that is.
So that I understand, this is a county meeting, and if they're wanting to basically approve for a higher amount, so how does that work in the budgets that are in there? I mean, does that affect how that works for?
I would assume that in the contract that we have, it fluctuates on what our expenses are, so yes, we do have a number based on what today's budget is, but
Right.
if it would change, those numbers would go up, so. Like I said, I think it's, if we want to show, if you agree that, we need to make in this, not saying the whole county government, but at least on the policing side for us, that we contract with them if we need that services to make sure that the sheriff's department can do what they need to do and be there at the times that we need them, is this something that we should show our support? And just say that we would support increasing the funds for the salaries and benefits. I don't know what has been proposed. Or if there's anything, have you heard, Jason, as far as what they're thinking?
I don't, I know they did the case study, and I think last county commission, one of the commissioners mentioned 3% but I don't know if they've made a decision or anything.
How many staff are you guys short right now?
3 deputies, and come middle of October, there'll be 3 dispatchers.
And there's 10 total deputies? Or supposedly 10? And we contract for 2. And Mayville, I believe, has 2.5. They share with Portland, if I remember right. Hatton is somewhere around in there. Well, it's Hatton in Portland, okay. But Mayville's 2.5, does that sound right? Or maybe they went to 3, I can't remember. Because I think they based it on the amount of time that you wanted coverage, so. And that's concerning to me that, 3 dispatchers and 3 deputies to try to find. And Jason, do you know when the last time you guys were fully staffed?
We were briefly up until these last 3 left, but it was only for 6 or 8 months while we had Tim Pete.
Like I said, that's my opinion. It's up to you guys whether or not you would like it done.
I don't see a problem with it. I think we should support them as best we can. Obviously, I don't know the county's budget. They're going to decide that, but if our voice of support can be enough to possibly get those positions filled, because obviously the reality is I would be surprised if we're getting our contract filled right now if they're that short of people. So, it comes down to, do you want to be serviced, on a 24-hour basis? You want to be fully serviced? They obviously have to cut someplace. They just can't take care of everybody, so. But, if this can make the difference, hey, I don't see a problem with it. It's just showing our support to them and saying that, yeah, we understand that we may have a contract that'll go up to some degree, but that's an unfortunate reality, I guess, if we want it, so.
Dave?
Yeah, I agree with Paul. I don't think it's a good gesture, but they've got their minds set up, but yeah, I'm okay with it.
Nicole?
I mean, I do need someone to tell me when the van doors are open, so I would have to say it's pretty important. But yeah, hopefully it'll help fill some of these positions too.
So do I have a motion to do that?
I'll make the motion to write a letter of support.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Paul, seconded by Nicole. Any other discussion? I'll start with Jason because I know your answer.
I'll abstain.
Paul?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
Nicole?
Yes.
And a yes for me. Motion carries. I will get that sent. Just let Glenda know to check her email if you see her, that I'll have it to her first thing in the morning, if not tonight.
Okay.
Anything else for the good of the...
I have one thing real quick. I think this has probably already been taken care of maybe, but I noticed on Thursday, the Burrow statue in the park, the right ear broke off. So there's just a piece of rebar sticking out on one side, so.
I did not know that.
Okay, well, I'm glad I brought it up then, yeah. I saw it Thursday at the farmer's market. I was just walking by and there was a couple of pieces crumbled on the statue, so I don't know if that broke off during the farmer's market or if that was before or if it was an accident or intentional, but I just figured I would bring it up, so.
I'm sure Jason will get fingerprints off of them and investigate
It
it.
was not me. I'm not trying to create news here, so.
I almost wonder if Olson Hardware doesn't have something to do with that borough, as far as it was donated by them. You could,
HPA donated it.
pardon?
HPA paid for it years ago.
Oh, did they? Okay.
I found out reading old Banner archives.
Okay, thank you.
I mean, but HPA doesn't have funds left for it, so it's the city's project. Oops.
We
Could you do a history report every week, just to give us, like the Banner does? I like that, looking where you don't want.
if you're okay, we could use the railroad, the caboose funds to help cover that if we need to do something. I'll take a look at it. And does anybody else have anything that they would like to talk to the group? Or do we have any in the audience that would like to speak? Okay, I have one other thing if I can find it.
You said that last time.
And the
Two
time
times
before.
ago.
This is not, you do not have to make a decision on this, so just know that. I just wanted to let everybody know this, and I think it goes to everybody that put a little extra work in. But they wanted to thank us for staying on top of issues that they had from the Dakota Natural Gas being put in. There was a lot of back and forth with no contact from the gas company, so they kind of gave up on it. We appreciate that we looked into it and got taken care of. The company came last week and redid the area that had been damaged.
Good.
So we don't always hear good things. That was one good thing that I could say. I also want to thank, I'm going to expect every one of you to come up with something at one point to thank somebody. So today I'm going to thank Sarah for all the extra work that she's put in and the headache and having to step up and sending an email that says very frustrated today. So she needed a little extra. So with that, do I have a motion to adjourn? So thank you, Sarah.
Make the motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Meeting is adjourned.